Welcome to the Meadowlands Chamber of Commerce Emerging Leaders Podcast, aimed at helping you excel and take your professional career to the next level. Sponsored by Henry Kaminsky Jr. and www.uniquedesigns.net. Now, let's get into today's show.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Emerging Leaders Podcast. It's your co-host, Henry Kaminsky here. I think Fernando will be jumping on this podcast soon or later. I'm not sure. We'll see how it goes. But today we have some amazing guests today. Great Meadowlands Chamber members. They've been members for quite some time, and we wanted to really represent and showcase their expertise. They were been working with the chamber quite some time. They're big supporters, and I want to bring them to the stage. Welcome, everybody. Jay and Evan Eagleson from 86 Agency. What is shaking, guys?
What's up, Henry?
How's it going?
Listen, man, we just got bombed with some snow last night. So how you guys doing over there?
You know, we made it in. I think some rain washed away the streets, so the streets weren't so bad.
Wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be when I woke up this morning. After seeing how it was last night.
I'm up here in Sparta, so Sparta's like in Timbuktu. So we got bombed. We must have got like a foot.
Different world up there.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's get into it, guys. So share with me what 86 is and how you got started.
So 86, we're a design and marketing company. Our tagline is "Look good and get found." We work with small businesses and marketing managers to help them, accomplish their goals, whether that's through web, graphic design, some search engine optimization, Google Ads. That's kind of our bread and butter. So we work with all different industries. Try to apply a less is more philosophy to things when we're working with our clients. And I'll let Evan tell you how we got started because it's kind of funny.
Back in 2010, I was a senior in college, getting ready to graduate. Jay is 4 years older than me, so he was in the workforce for 4 years already. So when I got close to graduation, I was talking to Jay. I was like, where do you think I should apply? Like, what do you think I should do? And he's like, listen. He's like, whatever you do not work for somebody if you don't have to. He's like, it is awful. He's like, so I talked to him. We have two very different skill sets. I'm more of like the hands-on design and actually doing like creating the websites and stuff like that. And Jay's more of like sales and strategy. So we're like, maybe this could work. So luckily we had parents that let us convert the basement into an office and hit the ground running from there.
I love it. Now, did you go to school for design?
Yeah, I went for computer graphics. In college, I was doing more like 3D modeling and animation, stuff like that. But I mean, I was doing print design and working on websites since high school. So, I mean, it was a pretty easy transition.
Well, it sounds like a dynamic duo. I mean, you got to have great strategy behind great design, right?
Yep. We were like the Property Brothers before they existed. I sell, he makes it look good. That's pretty much it. Yep.
I love it, man. So you guys, so that's tough, man. So, I should say it's tough for some people, but it sounds like you guys have a great relationship. And, a lot of people say don't mix business with family and that. How do you guys get around that? I'm just curious.
It's funny. Like if you asked me that, I was a little hesitant going in, but like, I feel like our relationship now is better than it could have been in any other circumstance.
Yeah.
I think it's because our skill sets are so different. So I would say this has kind of helped us grown our relationship. We get to hang out a lot more. Mm-hmm. And like I said, because our skill sets are different, that's really how we make this work, I think.
Yeah, so you're not trying to get behind the design chair and Evan's not out there closing deals.
Correct.
Yes. Our personalities are a little different too.
Yeah.
So, we really butt heads often.
Listen, I've built my practice to 15 people over the 12 years I've been in business. And man, when I tell you, one of the key things that I did was putting people in the right positions. When you put the right staff or team members in the right positions and watch them flourish in that position, the business starts to grow on its own, and you could start to replace yourself and you start to become a little bit more hands off. And, you know, not to say that it wasn't easy, you know, it was definitely difficult to try to find those right fits for those right spots. But you guys are a perfect example of how that works. And so that's awesome. So what's your plans? So you've been in business since about 2011. We were talking offline.
Yep.
Okay, so obviously the digital space and online and the world is just evolving at such a rapid pace. Like what you and I, you know, what we were doing in 2011, you know, would almost sound archaic if we tried to do that at this point. What are some of the things that you've been able to shift and pivot to help you guys, you know, keep up with the times and stay ahead of the curve and really build that value and that increased value to your marketplace?
So our first client was actually a magazine. So we kind of started out with graphic design. But what happened really quickly, and what's funny is you're talking about how things change so fast. In this case, not so much. Back then in 2011, 2012, it was kind of that shift to everyone needed a mobile-friendly website. And that whole transition started. And so you can almost go to any client and they did not have something that worked well on mobile. So for years, we were just essentially transitioning clients to what's called a responsive website, where you manage one site, it works well on all screen sizes, and so many businesses did not have this in place. And to this day, Henry, we're still doing that. A lot of times we're going into a client, the lead is they need a website, and we still come across clients in 2019 that still don't have a website that works on mobile, and that's kind of the initiation of the call. Now, that's something that kind of has stuck, but I think what really helped us grow is you really got to go, and this is some key advice, I would say. It sounds so freaking obvious, but you got to go from projects to clients. And if you're working project to project and, you know, kind of all hands on deck, and then you got to go out and get the next one, go out and get the next one, go out and the next one, and then the relationship is, if you don't have services to offer after that initial project is complete, you're kind of dead in the water. You're always going to be scrambling for your next meal. So we kind of, you know, years ago, we went to, you know, probably about 5 years ago, we went from projects to clients. And whether that was, you know, enticing the client to work with us over 6 months or 12 months, even if it was just a website project, just to get them into some of our other services, whether that's, hey, you need a brochure designed. Hey, you want to run some Google ads. You know, it was a big transition going from project to project in the beginning to now having clients that you work with on a year-round basis.
Aha. So increasing the value.
I think you know that.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, if I didn't move with the times, I mean, Gary Vaynerchuk talks about it all the time. There's people that are still marketing like it's 2006, you know, and if you're not moving with the times and marketing in the year that you are in, you're going to be left behind. And so, you know, you mentioned something that's actually funny. Like, I cannot believe in this day and age that people don't have optimized mobile responsive sites still. But it's just a shock to me how people just forget how important that is, the user experience on a website, on a device of any sort. Like, we don't have the patience that we had in 2011, right? Like, if your site sucks on mobile, you're dead, because like I'm 2 seconds later, I'm going to the next person.
Yep.
You know, I'm going to the next company.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, we probably manage 80 websites. If you look at any of their analytics at any time, maybe one or two of our clients are not going to have over 50% of their views coming from a mobile device.
Yeah.
No matter what your industry is.
Yeah. And so let's talk about growth for a second here. I want to switch gears a little bit. I want to keep this flowing. But as far as growth for you guys at 86, so what are some of your ideas and strategies to grow the business in 2019, to help you, like I said, keep it flowing, keep the value generating, and keep you guys ahead of the market trend?
So I think one of the main things we've done over the past, it takes a while, but past like year or two, is to really consolidate our reporting. So if we're working with a client and we have a couple design projects going, they want their website stats, they want to know when their reviews are coming in online, how their listings look, what their statistics are from social and how many people they're reaching, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff used to be individual reports. And I'd have to, at the end of the month, make this one for that and the Google Analytics report. And basically, we've worked, we invested in some software that has allowed us to kind of bring that all under one roof. And any of our clients, like large and small, they've really enjoyed having a one source to get everything. So not only, Henry, are we trying to offer all these services and kind of grow that with, as the times change, like you said, but also stay with a very consolidated and easy to understand reporting system where no matter how many services they're doing with us, they have access to it in one place. And I think the small business owners, really appreciate that because one, they're almost initially always confused by seeing all these numbers on a page, but two, having having a place to go where you can see all that in one place and it's simplified for the small business owner. That's been a big thing we've been focusing on.
That's all. So simplifying, streamlining the analytics process.
Correct. Across all the different services.
Yeah, that makes sense because if I'm going over here, clicking there, now I'm overwhelmed. Now I'm out.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. So that's been a big thing we've been attacking.
So what do you think in 2019 is the biggest issue small businesses are having right now when it comes to marketing and their online presence?
I would say maybe brand consistency. Like looking consistent across all the platforms. I mean, some of our clients, before they came to us, you'd look at them on Facebook, you'd look at their website, you'd look at them wherever, Twitter, wherever, and it kind of looked like three different companies. Like you wouldn't know if you were on 86's Facebook page, website, you'd think this might be another 86. So I feel like we run into that a lot where we have to kind of bring in the reins a little bit and make the brand look consistent across all their online platforms and print as well.
That's a great point, and we're talking to the right guy here. Yeah. There are so many places that a business can get found now, and it's like what doorway are you going to use to either pick up that phone or submit on a form or hopefully eventually make it to the customer's website. But sometimes, especially with Google My Business and Facebook and Twitter, and that's the entryway. So if you don't look good there and look consistent there and get your message across there, many people are not even going to make it to your website, where hopefully is your best opportunity to convey what you do. But some people aren't going to make it there. So I think Evan's point's great in that there's so many different ways to engage with a business. If they're not consistent in telling their story and at least maximizing that platform, you're losing an opportunity to maybe get business. Definitely.
Yeah, there's many levels of brand consistency, and it's a good that you bring that up, Evan, because not only if you want high quality clients, that you must look high quality yourself. I mean, my shtick is the quality of your brand determines the quality of your client, hands down. Right? That's always been my shtick, and people really gravitate to that because they're like, yeah, I guess you're right. If I look like crap, then I'm probably just going to attract crappy clients, right? And people look at that. Like, we're working with 7 and 8 figure brands, and if my brand did not look to the level that it looks, they would bypass me. I mean, one of my webinars, I talk about how I lost a $100K contract because they came to me and said, Henry, your designs are great, but it looks like you're just not big enough for us. And we were gone. They went with the other person. And I like what you said, Jay, about messaging. I talk about this a lot in my podcast, where if your messaging is off by 1 millimeter, you could be completely attracting the wrong client, And it's funny because I have a Facebook ads team myself here at Unique Designs, and we have weekly meetings. And I had one of these epiphanies the other day where we were sitting down and we were sort of jiving about, all right, what is our retargeting ads going to look like, and what are they going to sound like? And I was just like slapped in the face by my man Todd. He was like, dude, if you're looking to attract these types of clients, they're not too concerned about their personal brand. They kind of got that down already. They want to know how to scale. They want to know how to increase bandwidth. They want to know how to go from 6 figures to 7 figures to 8 figures. So we need to talk about that. and so I was like, okay. Within 24 hours, I had a brand new webinar, had my lead funnel set up, and we were out there crushing. And so that's why it's so important to be consistent on all levels when it comes to your look, your feel, the voice, the tone, the stories you're telling. I love it. So I want to backtrack a step and ask you guys some of the personal challenges that you guys went through when growing your business. I mean, I'll be here till Friday telling you mine, but I want to highlight some of your personal struggles and how you got through them as you built this brand and business.
I mean, like I mentioned earlier, we were lucky that my parents let me set up an office in the basement and live there for free for a couple years after college. Because I mean, one of the toughest things was right out of college. Yes, we started our own business. I didn't have to worry about putting a suit on, going to the office. But I'm seeing some of the people I graduate getting paid good money, good benefits, all stuff like that, while I'm sitting there like, yeah, making a few bucks, but I mean, is this going to work out? Am I going to be living in the basement for the next 10 years? Like, what's going to happen here? So, I mean, because obviously you guys spend a lot of time when you're growing a business. So there are a lot of late nights up to 3, 4 a.m. working on projects and then not getting paid at the time in the short term. Obviously, it ended up paying off in the long term. But there were some times where I thought about packing it up, like, this is not enough for me. Like, I'm seeing all my friends that were taking the same classes and stuff like that, making all this money, and I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, is this the right thing?
Do you laugh at some of them now?
Yes. Yes. As they have to put the suit on every day, wake up, spend the 10 hours in an office somewhere in a cubicle.
It's funny how tides change.
Yes. Well, yeah. And when we started, Henry, I was working full time. So I was kind of committing my time every night. So almost working pretty much all day because I would have my day job that I was committed to. And then, trying to get this off the ground at night. Luckily, like Evan said, he was just out of college at the time when we started. So he was able to commit a full effort into the business while I was kind of committing my nights to it. So I think that was, key as we started. That was kind of rough. And really, you never really know when to leave your job if you're working on something on the side. And I don't think there is a straight answer for that, but it was basically, can I cover my mortgage? Can I cover my car payment? All right, let's do this. And like, that was it. And we took the jump and, we kind of been plugging away ever since. It's been, a blessing, just growing slowly each year.
I love it, man. I remember when I was departing from Hackensack Medical Center, going into Unique Designs full time. And oh my God, I consulted with so many people and I don't know if this is going to work.
There's no answer.
Yeah. Right? There is no answer. There is no answer. And you just have to take that first step. And I tell this in my story, first year, head to the ground, just barrel assing through. And we did $250,000 in the first year, just me by myself designing club flyers, for crying out loud. Right. So, it's like when your back is against the wall and it's just failure is not an option.
Yeah. Once I left my job, failure was not an option. Yeah.
Right. So it's like you just go and I never look back. And here it is. Yep. We're both in business now, for quite some time. And you got to congratulate yourself. You got to celebrate because most businesses don't last 36 months on average.
It's so hard to celebrate. We're trying at we're in year 8 and like you try to celebrate these little wins, but it's like you're always just grinding. And it's one of the things I wrote down to talk to you about is like, it's so difficult when you're in a small business and you're kind of driving it and how do you shut off and when do you shut off and what is enough of an effort for the day? Because you'll burn out. And I have burnt out in the past with the business, and it's very hard to reset and kind of set those boundaries because, like you talking about Gary Vee before. Gary Vee, you would think he never slept a day in his life. And that's cool. And that's his brand and that's what he's promoting. But the truth is, if you do that, you are going to be burnt out and you're going to start you almost start hating your business at points, but you really gotta step away for a day, a weekend, whatever. And kind of, feel again what it's like to get inspired for your business and not get burnt out all the time. It's very difficult to shut off.
Yeah. Listen, I'll tell you, I just had so I meet with a mentor once a month. I find mentorship to be extremely and I pay this guy top dollar too. He's not cheap, but man, the ROI I get from this guy is just insane. I'll talk about the folks that are listening can't see, but we do these podcasts via video. So there's a plaque behind me that kind of looks like a platinum record. Yeah. And it's an award you get when you have a marketing and sales funnel that generates over $1 million, one single funnel that generates over $1 million in revenue. And I was able to accomplish that in a very short period of time. And I was talking to my mentor about this because I was like, I hit the 2 Comma Club. I got a 2 Comma Club award from this company, and it was an amazing accomplishment. But what's next? And he was like, Henry, would you just stop for a second and celebrate and appreciate what you just accomplished? And he said, why do you not take that time to just relax and see that? And then begin to write your recipe on how the hell you even achieve that in the first place. And so I said, I'll tell you a quick little story. So I have an uncle who's very, very successful. He owns one of the biggest construction companies in the state. And when I went to him at 22 years old, I said, Uncle Joe, how do you get here? How do you get to this level of success? And he always said, Henry, you got to work your butt off. He said, you set a goal, you achieve that goal, and you set another one right away, a little bit higher, and you just keep going and going and going. And you rinse and repeat that over and over again. So me, 22 years old, that gets into my wireframe here. And that's what I do. Right. And what happened was exactly what you said, Jay, happened to me. Started resenting clients, burnout. Nothing was good enough, never settled. And I just started this vicious cycle. But in 2018, I stopped and I said, you know what? I'm not going to set that goal quickly anymore. I'm going to take a second, take a couple days. I'll celebrate with my family. I'll celebrate with my team. And when I'm done celebrating, I will now set my next goal. Because if you just rush through, one of the things that I realize is it's an unfulfilling prophecy. You just never feel fulfilled. And for me, it was a race to the bottom because I was like, what am I doing this for? I started to lose my purpose and my focus and my drive and my mission. And that's the worst thing that can happen. So, yes, I'm a firm believer of you got to set the bar higher every time. But don't forget to write that recipe of how you accomplished those accomplishments along the line, because it's going to propel you and give you the momentum, and that wind is going to be on your back every time you do that. And it's just it's a whole different world. So not to go all personal development, Jim Rohn on you guys, but it's very important to celebrate the wins and take a deep breath and, look at those accomplishments.
That was definitely something I wanted to bring up when I knew we were going to talk today, because it's a big deal when you're in your own business. It really is. And something I heard on one of the podcasts, the Meadowlands podcast earlier, was you can't work on your business if you're working in your business. And now I'm sure wasn't made up on this podcast, but it's so true. Yeah. It's so true. And if you're so entrenched in the day-to-day of every little thing and micromanaging, you can't work on growing your business. And that phrase, when I was listening to the podcast earlier, couldn't be truer.
Yeah. you really gotta start to replace yourself. And as CEO of you, if you're a personal brand or a consultant or you're a business owner of any sort, the sole responsibility of the CEO is to grow the business, create the systems and processes in place to help scale, right? They're not supposed to be pulling the levers, designing the websites, the funnels, the ad designs, all of that. That's why you hire folks like Jay and Evan and me to do, because it is the quickest way, like you mentioned before, to get burnt out and become overwhelmed. Once that overwhelm sets in, you're like, now what? What am I doing this for? And that morale and that confidence we were talking about before offline, you know, when you're working and operating the business from an optimal level of confidence, there's nothing you can't accomplish. And so it's so key to dial in on these things.
Sure. Yeah, that was definitely one of the hardest things too, because me being the designer when we were first starting out was I needed to have my hands on everything. Like it took a few years, honestly, before I was able to gain the trust somebody else to design something. Obviously, I'd take a look at it at the end, but to not be fully hands-on on every aspect of a design project, it took a long time. But I mean, obviously, that's what needed to be done to grow.
What do you think that switch was, Evan, that helped you sort of become a little detached so you weren't so, I don't want to use the word micromanaging.
You know what it is? Me bringing in more work than he can do in a day.
That's not a bad problem to have.
Also, it's so hard to find somebody that you can trust and rely on. So luckily, we work with Stephanie Kowalski, who's with us part-time, and she came to us as a designer and copywriter. And I mean, her work was excellent. So knowing that she's talked to clients before, she does good work, that kind of helped as well.
Yeah.
You got to trust who you hire and hire who you trust.
Yep.
You know, I'm a firm believer of that. And that's how I built my team, my agency to 15 people, because if you are hiring people that aren't aligned with your values and you don't have that full sense of confidence in them, pass off. Just save your time, energy, and money, because, you know, every time you got to onboard a new staff member, it takes time and money, and you know, and it's a very expensive thing to do. So, you know, I always say, hire who you trust who you hire, and you're going to be in good shape. So as we turn the corner and sort of wrap this episode up, my focus wants to get towards growth. So where are you looking to take 86 this year, and what are some of the goals that you've set, the bars you've set for this year?
So I think kind of, you know, piggybacking on what I said before about kind of consolidating reporting, I think that's a key thing for us. And when we pitch clients, they really like that, especially the small businesses. But I think one thing that's interesting over the years is we've always been asked, oh, do you specialize in any industry? You know, are you, you know, do you help lawyers, or do you help medical practices, or is it restaurants? And the answer's kind of always been no, we don't really have a vertical. We kind of apply our methodologies or design principles to just about any industry. But I think what we've talked about and what we plan to do is kind of creating, you know, we realize that, you know, a lot of businesses are in need of a similar solution, and really what differentiates it is your brand and your design. But I think we're going to start creating specific vertical packages, because we kind of consolidate all the clients we've worked with over the past 8 years. We've bucketed them into an industry category, and it's like, oh crap, we've worked with 10 restaurants. We've worked with, you know, 5 medical offices. We've worked with 4 lawyers. Maybe we can start to see some similarities and start presenting these categories with what we have done for those groups and what has worked and what hasn't worked. So I think while all along we haven't done any vertical specific solutions, I think that's something I know that's something I'm working on currently. Because even when you go into, and I'm sure you face this, when you go into a client that is a specific industry, who else have you worked with in this industry? And they don't care if they're a law office. They don't care if you've worked with a restaurant or a dentist. they want to know what you've done and how you succeeded within those verticals. So I've focused on consolidating some of that data and seeing what's worked and what hasn't. And, that's something, not necessarily a service we're talking about here, Henry, but more of a solution for specific verticals. I think that's going to be kind of like our next stepping stone.
Well, they say there's riches and niches, and I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a firm believer in that, baby. Yep. Because here's the deal. I was attracting clients that were kind of starting out, and that is not who I serve. I have to work with established business. My minimum level of engagement is $10,000. Other than that, you can go buy my courses for, lower price points. But if you want to work with me one-on-one, it's $10,000, right? So if you're just starting out, you can't afford that, and that's fine. Right. But I was attracting these people. And so I said to myself, what do I need to do differently? And then I realized, one, I mentioned before, you have to really finesse your messaging and talk to those people that you really want to serve. The second is, again, copywriting comes into play here. So we were fooling around with some headlines on my website recently, and it really just changed the game. So now it says, we help 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs save time, attract high-quality clients, and help scale profits. Boom, done. So if you're not a 6- or 7-figure entrepreneur, you probably don't want to book a consult with me. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, you might want to go and take some of my courses and look at some of my free content before you take that plunge, right? Changed the world. Now it's a more refined lead. But I do want to help you guys with one little thing before we go here. When it comes to people come to you and say, well, what kind of experience do you have in this niche? I get that a lot too. And here's how I deal with it. So I tell people, listen, I'm probably a big risk here because I do not have the experience in this particular niche. However, the safer solution is to go hire somebody that's specifically in this niche, because you know what? They're probably doing the same thing for all of their clients in this niche. So if you want to look like everybody else, go there, because that's your safe bet. But if you want to be differentiated from everybody else that does what you do, I would probably be a better solution for you, because I'll give you an outside perspective that most people that are in your niche don't have. And they're
I like that.
Oh. So it's a whole different ballgame. But I will tell you that as I niched down and began my focus in on those 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs, it just changes the game. Now when people book consults, which is a paid thing, I don't do consults for free.
Sure.
It's a much higher quality lead, and those people are ready to take the next step, 60 to 80% of the time. So,
sure,
working like that and really getting focused on those verticals is a great move. So awesome, guys. So that's about it. That's about all the time we have today. And I want to thank you guys for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Amazing insight.
Appreciate it, Henry.
So as we wrap up, guys, a couple housekeeping things. One is, you don't want to forget the big event, May 8th. It's the Small Business Expo at the Venetian, hosted by the Meadowlands Chamber of Commerce. And we do have a piggyback event later on that evening. We have the Meadowlands Millennial Mastermind, which will be featured. Myself and Fernando Valencia will be featured as keynote speakers there. We'll have 10 subject matter experts, all facilitating roundtables. So if you want to meet with a subject matter expert, whether it be in the real estate niche or the small business niche, or we'll have 10 different subject matter experts there to kind of help you get your questions answered, and food will be included and all of that. So you definitely want to check out that event. And if you want more information, you can go to meadowlands.org to check all that out.
Hey, Henry.
Yeah.
Can I get one plug real quick now that you mentioned meadowlands.org?
Yeah, go for it.
So 86, we just finished launching the new meadowlands.org website. So I definitely wanted to, there's my shameless plug for you.
There you go. So that beautiful website you see there was done by yours truly. So go and check out that site. I checked it out myself. It came out awesome, guys. So congratulations.
Thanks, Henry. Thank you.
So last but not least, guys, if you haven't hit the subscribe button yet on this podcast, hit that, and please leave us a review. Let us know how we're doing. If you have any particular topics of conversation that you want us to highlight or shed some light on, let us know. But we're here to help you scale your professional career, and we're going to continue to bring that value every week with a new episode. So that's all I got for you guys today. Have an amazing, amazing rest of the week, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
You've been listening to the Meadowlands Chamber of Commerce Emerging Leaders Podcast, sponsored by Henry Kaminsky Jr. and www.uniquedesigns.net. Don't forget to subscribe and stay connected with us by visiting www.meadowlands.org.